trying to talk about the Wu flu out there. So, one of the things Bear wanted to check out was like, what can you say and what can't you say here on YouTube? I mean, Bear kind of was one of the early people to talk about it in Comicsgate, just kind of dealing with shipping issues, which now was it supply chain disruption is kind of a way of life now. But early on, we were trying to figure out, okay, how are they going to get them out of China over here if there's some sort of quarantine or something like that going on? So a lot of the stuff Bear kind of had to kind of dance around here. Again, it's just a comic channel here. We're not dispensing medical advice. Why would you take medical advice from a bear to begin with? I don't know, but anyway, so we're going to go through what it is, the Wu Flu medical misinformation policy of YouTube, and kind of figure out what we can say and maybe what we can't say. And I tell you what, I tell you, it might get bear struck, but hey, we're just talking about discussions of things. We're not actually trying to go in and say you should do this or you shouldn't do that. If you've got a doctor or anything like that, please listen to the medical advice of your doctor. Local people out there. We're just kind of generally kind of discussing stuff here on basically a YouTube stuff here. So let's see. Oh wow, Canada shipping. Oh, okay, I already read that. So let's get into it. Hopefully we won't lose too many viewers here, but that's alright. We're going to get to it regardless. Alright, let's go. Let me get a drink here first. I'd hate to have like a scratchy throat talking about the Wu flu and oh my god, we need to quarantine Bear here. So P-Money says, well, I take comic advice from a bear. Is medical advice that much of a stretch? Well, you wouldn't take a dog to a doctor, and you wouldn't take a person to a vet. Yeah, maybe unless you're, in the mafia or something like that and trying to get a bullet taken out of you or something like that. But do not take medical advice from a bear. That's the first thing that we got to say right off the top here. All right. YouTube doesn't allow content about the Wu-Fu that poses a serious risk of egregious harm. Well, we're not going to be doing that. YouTube doesn't allow content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or the World Health Organization. Now, okay, second sentence in. So, I don't want to. P-Money, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing this back to hockey here, but if we saw just recently, we had our local medical authorities here in Florida talking about what certain spectators can do in the stadiums, and then of course you had your local medical authorities there in Canada that said stuff that's completely different. So if you actually watch the Stanley Cup there, you could see them up there in Canada, and they had I don't know, 20 people in the stadium. I'm not really sure how many people there, but it was a very small number. And then you go over to Florida, and I mean, they're stacked, butts to nuts out there. I think, let's see, it wasn't quite sold out. I think maybe like 100 or 200 less or something like that. But they packed them in. Hardly anybody was wearing a mask or anything like that. So, local health authorities vary from locality to locality there. So second sentence in, YouTube has already kind of got it a little twisted here. This is limited to content that contradicts WHO or local health authorities' guidance on treatment, prevention, diagnosis, transmission, and not the kind that you have in your car, social distancing and self-isolation guidelines, and the existence of the Wu flu. Well, I tell you what, I mean, if you were pretty early on talking about a strange virus coming out of the Wuhan province of China, you know what, that kind of got in your, little star on your channel there to kind of watch out for. So, we went from denying it to, you can't deny it. So, anyways, there we are. It says, note, YouTube's policy on the Wu flu are subject to change in response to changes to global or local health authorities' guidance on the virus. So, if you did like Bear and maybe had something contradictory on May 19th, there went your channel. But if you had that same information on May 21st, let's say, and it went with those authorities or whatnot, you're all good. So it just kind of depends on how far ahead of the curve you are. So, for instance, Bear says, hey, May 1st, mask free May 1st day. Let's just see what happens. What happened 2 weeks later? Everybody was taking their masks off. So Bear was ahead of the curve on that one. I mean, could have been thrown into YouTube jail for that, but there you go. What this policy means for you. Yes, indeed. Oh, let me see. Miguel says, 1.5% dead around the world. Yes, it's a pandemic, but please, I'm sorry, Miguel, I misread that. But he says it's not a deadly one. Well, I mean, it is deadly. Let's not get that. Let's not get Bear's channel struck. We're going down the list here. We're not saying that it's not deadly here at Bear's channel. Nothing like that. Just like Miguel was saying, kind of in proportion. Early on, we were talking like 20, 30% of people of fatalities. That was a lot. We were talking about millions of people passing. Multiple millions. It helps to have that in perspective. All right. So, if we are posting content, let me make this a little bit bigger. Here we go. Let's see what this policy means for you. If you're posting content, like Bear is doing right now, don't post content on YouTube if it includes any of the following. So here we go. Treatment misinformation. Content that encourage the use of home remedies, prayer, rituals in place of medical treatment, such as consulting a doctor or going to a hospital. Number 1, consult your doctor. Number 2, if you're sick, go to the hospital, please. But what the hospital is going to do, at least around here, is going to say, okay, thank you, sir, madam. Please go home. Please self-isolate yourself for, 2 to 3 weeks? And hopefully you'll turn out better. And if you're not, come back to the hospital and we'll do some more treatments for you. Well, if you're sitting around home for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or something like that, what's wrong with prayer? What's wrong with prayer? What's wrong with a home remedy? Let's say you've got a grandma's chicken noodle soup or something like that, and that kind of helps the throat or something like that. Why not have a home remedy like that? Why not prayer? That's not nothing wrong with that. We're not saying it's going to cure it. We're not saying it's going to prevent it or anything like that, but I think you should be able to say, hey, gosh, we pray for so and so out there with the Wu flu. We hope they get better. I think that's fine. I hope Bear doesn't get struck for that. Number 2, content that claims that there's a guaranteed cure for the Wu flu. Well, what is the vaccine? Bear's just asking this question. If there is not it's not necessarily a cure, it just prevents you from getting it. So, I don't know if that's the same thing or different thing or whatever, but there you go. All right, here's the one that Bear was seeing. Unfortunately, it was a gentleman that helped develop the what do they call that? The mRNA sequence that they use in the vaccine. He was talking about these two treatments, talking about, and I hope I pronounced this right, invermectin, and hydroxychloroquine. Let's see, content that recommends the use of ivermectin, or how you pronounce it, and hydroxychloroquine for the treatment of COVID-19. Well, why not? If your doctor recommends it, why not? Again, this is something that Bear's not recommending or discouraging. Just if your doctor recommends it, go right ahead and use it. Why can't you? I don't see that there's a huge negative consequence for using that sort of stuff. Now, don't make it as a medical talisman that is going to prevent anything or anything like that. But hey, if it helps as far as a treatment, go right ahead and use it. Again, under medical advice. Claims that or hydroxychloroquine are effective treatments of Bear, I guess, just whatever your doctor says. That's fine. Other content that discourages people from consulting a medical professional or seeking medical advice. Please go consult a medical professional. In fact, Bear would say, consult two. I mean, because Dr. A might have something, and then you go to Dr. B, and he might say something just a little bit different. It's always good to have a second opinion there. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Let's see. Peabody says, I'm not as worried about the virus in bear areas than I am worried with the salmon population. There you go. Well, Bear's not going to comment on either of that, but if you do believe the wet market theory as opposed to what Bear believes is the accidental release theory, it was bats. It was not bear. I know there are bees in there, but it wasn't a bear. God, I hope they weren't eating bears. I tell you what, if they were eating bears, they deserve that. But anyways, it was bats instead of bears. So hopefully Bear will be okay. Peabody also says, so don't tell people to pray for a guaranteed fish cleaner cure. No, don't do that. Prevention, misinformation, content that promotes prevention methods, blah, 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 promotes prevention methods that contradict local health authorities or maybe not or I don't know. The WHO. It goes on, it says, claims that there is a guaranteed prevention method. For the Wu flu, well, I would say probably the vaccine, maybe? Claims that any medication or vaccination is guaranteed prevention method. For the Wu flu, well, according to them, it's pretty gosh darn close. I wouldn't say it would be a guaranteed prevention method, but it would definitely, what was it, on the 80 to 90% scale effective there? So that's pretty close there. Content, going on, a content that recommends the use of imidazole and hydroxychloroquine for the prevention. Oh, we just read that. Claims that wearing a mask is dangerous or causes negative physical health effects. I apologize. Well, actually, let me see if I can find it here because it should be, where was it up here? I think, pardon me. This was the guy that, pardon me. Robert W. Malone is the doctor that Bear kind of started off with. It was the one that, I believe it was YouTube and a couple other people that struck his video just because he was talking about mirdavincin and hydroxychloroquine there. So, anyways, that's him. Let me see if I can find it here. Nope, not that. There we go. I need to refresh, though. Because it will tell us. And this is from the Journal of American Medical Association, I think is JAMA. And he is waiting for it to load here. No close. I don't need that. Experimental assessment of carbon dioxide content in inhaled air, with or without face masks, in healthy children. And goes on, talks about the randomized clinical trial where they did actually check it out and found that, there were some issues there with the CO2 in your mask there and not being able to release that CO2, so you're kind of breathing that over and over again, and how it kind of has an effect there. So YouTube, I'm not really sure, talking about claims that masks do not play, or claims that wearing a mask is dangerous. I'm not claiming that, or causes negative physical health effects. Well, once again, I refer you to, not that one, the Journal of American Medical Association, which says, there might be some issues with that. The child with the lowest carbon dioxide level was a 3-fold greater than the limit of 0.02 by volume. So you don't want to have your children breathing in carbon dioxide, whatever the case may be. He says this leads in turn to impairments attributable to hyper whatever, and a bunch of other stuff there as well. So if you want to check that out, it's the Journal of American Medical Association experimental assessment of carbon dioxide content in inhaled air with or without face masks in healthy children. So can we post this? Can we post this on you? It came after the date that YouTube has there, so maybe they haven't updated their stuff lately. So can we talk about this before it's approved, or anyways, continuing on. Let's see. P Money says, whenever people talk about the Who, the Doctor Who theme song is stuck in my head. And I think of the band The Who. Yo! I always think of, was it David Caruso taking off his glasses and yo! Which, okay, a side story for just a second. So they have the CSI Miami show with David Caruso taking off the glasses and everything. I always thought it was funny whenever they get done with the show and, they're out there, doing this, maybe having some drinks, and the sun is setting on the beach there, and they're just having a great time until you realize, well, wait a minute, they're filming this in Los Angeles because the beach is on the east side of Miami there, so that just wouldn't work at all. So, I don't know. Yow! Anyway, so that was that. Let's see. Miguel says, in this circle of medicine, healthcare, and evolutionary bio, there is a debate. How beneficial is an antiseptic life? The body creates resistance by fighting and adapting. Nature is not clean at all. Bear can definitely attest to that. Yes, he can. All right. Where was he? Claims that masks do not play a role in preventing the contraction or transmission of the Wu flu. Well, then why are we required to wear them then? That doesn't make any sense at all, because if it's not, if it doesn't play a role in preventing it, then you shouldn't have to wear the mask. But if it does play a role, then I don't know. You should be able to. The whole thing with the mask, just very briefly, kind of like a screen door on a submarine. It doesn't really work. The whole thing has to do with an aerosol, so it's smaller particles. You can go and look. I should have brought it with me, but Bear actually has a N900 or N90 mask. One with the little air filter on the thing there, or the air valve. Even on there, it says does not prevent viruses and all that sort of stuff. It's actually made for industrial use, chemicals and that sort of thing. So. Yeah, even on the 3M packaging, it says, it doesn't do it. So, I'm not really sure about that. Anyways, not saying that nobody should not wear masks. Bear just said, hey, why not take off the mask May 1st? And if the cases go up, then, hey, we can say definitively that the masks do work. But everybody took it off, and seems like the cases are going down. So, take that as you will. Do not take medical advice from the Bear. Claims about the the Wu flu vaccination that contradicts expert consensus from the WHO or the local health authorities. Claims that an approved Wu flu vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or the contraction of other infectious diseases. Claims that the approved Wu flu vaccine will contain substances that are not on the vaccine ingredient list, I guess. Let me take a quick drink. P-Money says, CSI Miami is not filmed in Florida. It's not a documentary. No. Not at all. Not at all. But anyways, let me see. Go back to the claims that the approved Wu flu vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or contraction of other diseases. Well, here we go. Let's see. Let's just go down the list. Let's start with Canada. Canada says, Health Canada updates several Wu flu vaccine labels with warnings about certain health risks. Well, that can't be. Let's see. Let's continue on. Let's see. Let's go to, there was another one. Let me find it here. Well, let's just go ahead and do the CDC. The CDC. The Wu flu vast work group report. This is back on May 17th, 2021. It says basically concluded that there's relatively few reports of mitochondritis, which is, I believe, a heart issue or blood issue there to date, and that these cases seem to occur predominantly in adolescents and young adults, more often than males than females, more often following dose number 2 than dose number 1, and typically within 4 days after your vaccination. So the CDC has some issues with that. Let's continue. The Jerusalem Post. Wu flu. Israel finds possible link between vaccine and mitochondria cases. There we are. Let's see. The findings have been transmitted to the Health Ministry Director General, Shizi Levy, as well as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and Pfizer. let's see, it's about 1 in 100,000 people who received the vaccine suffered from mitochondria. There we go. An inflammation of the heart muscle. The preliminary report by the committee of experts tasked to the health ministry, blah, 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 they reported. So there you go. The leaked documents show that most cases were reported among young men aged 18 to 30. Total of 62 cases have occurred so far in the Israel area around the time of the vaccination. 56 of them after the second dose. Some 55 cases occurred among men. There you go. Let's continue. Here we are. National Vaccine Information Center. So this is the VARs that we're talking about. So, okay, we've got mitochondria, or the other one, perichondrias. I'm not sure what that is. So you take a look, and if you're younger than 3 years old, you only had one person. Not a big deal there, but you jump from 12, looking at 276, all the way up to 17 to 44, and you got 569. So between those two groups there, I mean, you're talking a good percentage. Dang it. 22 in the first case, 44 in the second case. So if you're between 12 and 44 years old, you got to take a look. Is this going to be, you got to do the risk-benefit thing. So, hey, I'm in that age bracket where it might be affecting me in a different way. But if you're in the age bracket that the disease or the virus, I should say, causes the most damage. You're talking about people 65 and up and stuff like that. Actually, they don't have a very high count. So, really, if you're in that sort of, I mean, even going up to 65 years old, actually, with 44 to 65, but really between 12 and 44 years, you got to take a look at that and say, hey, is it going to be a positive thing or a negative thing if we take it? So, going back here to the Google thing, claims that an approved Wu flu vaccine will cause death, infertility, miscarriage, autism, or contraction of other diseases. Well, we definitely saw possibly some death, definitely some issues there with the mitochondria, how do you pronounce it? The heart issue there. Didn't really see too much about infertility, miscarriage, or autism, but we weren't really looking for any of that. So, let's see, what was that? Four different places, local health authorities in those different places. They all have some issues with that. So are we allowed to talk about that on YouTube, or are we not allowed to talk about that on YouTube? I'm not really sure. Let's see. Claims that an approved Wu flu vaccine will contain substances or devices meant to track you or identify those who've received it. I don't know of anybody that's talking about that, so I don't know where that came from. It claims that an approved Wu flu vaccine will alter a person's genetic makeup. It doesn't do that. It does have a mRNA vaccine in there that does some interesting thing. But no, you're not going to get the vaccine and all of a sudden turn into the Hulk or something like that. That's not going to happen. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine do not reduce the risk of contracting the Wu flu. Well, then what's the point of the vaccine? I don't understand that. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine do not reduce the risk of contracting the Wu flu. So what's the point? What's the point? YouTube, you're contradicting yourself there. Claims that any vaccine causes contraction of the Wu flu. I don't know of anybody that's claiming that. That's kind of weird. Claims that a specific population will be required by any entity except for the government to take part in a vaccine trial or receive the vaccine first. Let's see, do I have that? Do I have that one? Let's see, let me click. Oh, by the way, here's another one from the UK that was talking about the same thing. So there you go, talking about bleeding, clotting, immune system, pain, neurological, involving sight, hearing loss, speech or smell, and pregnancy. Let me flow this down to the pregnancy since we were just talking about it. Let me see here. Let me see. Given that the vaccinated pregnant women comprise a small portion of the vaccinated population in the UK up to the 26th of May 2021, there appears to be a high number of pregnancy ADRs, 307, including one maternal death, 12 stillbirths, and one newborn death following a preterm birth, and 150 spontaneous abortions. We submitted all this stuff. She's trying to. This is a report to somebody, so they're trying to talk to them. We submitted an FOI request to the cause of the maternal death, and we'll look into the pregnancy and congenital ADRs in more detail in our next report. And that was coming from the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency in the UK. So, that, I mean, what is that? 5 different ones there? So, anyways, okay, so that's that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. I must not have had that on here. Let's see, is this it? No, this is another CDC thing, but again, they kind of go over the same thing there, where they're talking about some issues that they're kind of taking a look at there. Let's see. Caregivers for these vaccines note that the vaccine recipients should seek medical attention right away if they have chest pain, shortness of breath, or feelings of having a fast-beating, fluttering, or pounding heart after vaccination. Definitely don't want that. So, again, YouTube, Google, we found some stuff there that is contradictory to what you're talking about here. Content that promotes the use of unapproved or homemade flu vaccines. Well, just fire up the CRISPR and there you go. Just kind of cut some stuff there. Instructions to counterfeit vaccine certificates or offer sale for such documents. Well, once again, do not go to bearfakecertificates.com. Do not go there. Whatever you do not go to that site. Let's see. I'm sorry. P-Money says, you were in the age bracket. Oh my God, what's the age bracket in yours and bear years? Well, bear is 29, so there you go. Miguel, so that's why some report diseases in the face, skin, or respiratory infections. So that's why some report diseases in the face, skin, or respiratory infections. Yes, indeed. We don't need the vaccine for government to track our phones, do that for us already. That's true. Well, especially if you put in the contact tracing app. Definitely that. Definitely that one. All right, diagnostic misinformation. We're almost through. Diagnostic misinformation. Content that promotes diagnostic methods that contradict local health authorities or the WHO. Okay. Transmission. Not the one that you find in your car. Misinformation. Content that promotes transmission misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or the WHO. Content that claims that the flu is not caused by a viral infection. It is. I don't know why. Content that claims the flu is not contagious. It is contagious. In fact, they're talking about the quote-unquote Delta variant. They gotta make a scary name for it. Well, if you follow kind of virology, it's going to be more contagious, yes, but less deadly. So there you are. A content that claims that the flu cannot spread in certain climates or geographies. Well, I'm not really sure how many Eskimos have come down with the flu, so we need to. I would like to find that out. Content that claims that any group or individual has immunity to the virus or cannot transmit the virus. Well, if you've got the vaccine, or actually if you've had it, you're not transmitting it. I don't think. I mean, that's the whole point of the vaccine, I thought. Anyways. Social distancing and self-isolation misinformation. Content that disputes the efficacy of local health authorities or the WHO's guidelines on physical distancing or self-isolation methods used to reduce the transmission of the flu, and that's content that denies the existence of the flu. Denial that the flu exists. Well, again, if you got into it early, you might have got your channel flagged because you were talking about it, and now can't say that it doesn't exist. I don't know what. Claims that people have not died or gotten sick from the flu. Bear's not claiming that. Claims that the virus no longer exists or the pandemic is over. Well, the former Vice President Biden, I mean, he was talking about, we're winning the war, I suppose. So, I mean, nobody's saying it's over, but, we're hopefully getting to the point where it's opening up and stuff like that. Case in point, I mean, the Stanley Cup. They were packed in there, I mean, just yelling and screaming, and holy cow. It claims that the symptoms, death rates, or contagiousness, yeah, of the Wu flu are less severe or equally as severe as the common cold or the seasonal flu. And that goes back to what Miguel was saying. We've had a very few incidents of seasonal flu this past year. So, take that as you were. Again, nobody's complaining. Bear is not talking about that. Yeah, it's a bad disease, and you don't want to catch it. Definitely don't want to catch it, and it affects people in different ways. You can see totally healthy people, being taken down by it. And you can see, elderly or overweight people, come out just fine. It really is a very individual kind of thing. It affects people in different ways. So you really probably shouldn't, do a whole broad brush on that. I would agree with that. Claims that the symptoms of the Wu flu are never severe. We're not claiming that. All right, so here we go. Some examples of content that is not allowed on YouTube. So this is not allowed. I don't even know if I could talk about this because it's not allowed. Denial that the Wu flu exists. No, we're not doing that. Claims that people have not died from the Wu flu. No, we're not doing that. Claims that any vaccine is a guaranteed prevention method for the Wu flu. Well, the key thing there is any. So I don't know. The Wu flu vaccine, we hope, is a prevention method for the Wu flu, because otherwise, why would you be getting the jab? I'm not sure. Claims that a specific treatment or medicine is a guaranteed cure for the Wu flu. Well, nobody's doing that other than some sort of vaccination. Claims that hydroxychloroquine saves people from the Wu flu. Well, Bear would just kind of recommend that we go and look what happened over in India about a month ago. There was a big outbreak there, and one of the things that they used to treat was hydroxychloroquine. So take that anecdotal evidence as it were. Just take a look at that and see what comes out of that. So there you go. Promotion of MMS, the miracle mineral solution for the treatment. I have no idea what that is. Claims that certain people have immunity due to their race or nationality. Okay, sure. No, that doesn't happen. Encouraging taking home remedies instead of getting medical treatment when sick. Again, if you go to the hospital, they're going to say, "Thank you, sir. We're going to see how your symptoms come out in a couple of days, so please go home and, hopefully pray, pray, and, have some soup or something like that." I think that's totally fine. Nobody's talking about, making your own medical facility in your house or anything like that. I think that would be kind of weird. Discouraging people from consulting a medical professional if they're sick. Again, number one, don't listen to Bear for medical advice. Number two, consult your medical professional for advice. I think that's pretty obvious. Content that claims that holding your breath can be used as a diagnostic test for the Wu flu. I don't know. I don't even understand that. Videos alleging that if you avoid Asian food, you won't get the Wu flu. Well, no, eat Asian food for crying out loud. Bear does enjoy his sushi. Let's see. Videos alleging that setting off fireworks can clean the air of the virus and will prevent the spread of the virus. Well, there you go. We just had the 4th of July, so we should be... Bear kids, I don't understand where fireworks clean the air. That's kind of weird. Claims that the Wu flu is caused by radiation from 5G. There's radiation in 5G networks? Holy cow. Again, I don't know where that comes from. I don't. I've never even heard of that. That's kind of weird. A video is alleging that the Wu flu test is the cause of the virus. No, I don't think that. Claims that countries with hot climates will not experience the spread of the virus. Well, let's take a look. The Sahara Desert, or maybe Death Valley or something like that. Let's check it out. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. Bear doesn't know. I'm not saying that for sure. I don't know. Videos alleging that social distancing and self-isolation are not effective in reducing the spread of the virus. Again, it kind of depends. if you're self-isolating in a apartment building, and the apartment building has like a central heating and air unit, and you have one person on the bottom floor that might have it, chances are the people on the top floor, even though they're self-isolating, might still come in contact with it because there is a central heating and air thing right there. So, you can self-isolate, all you want, but if there's a connection there between, you know, like Bear kind of sees the people driving around with the masks on, like, okay, you're in your car. I think you're okay in your car, but yeah, again, that just kind of goes to show the people there that they don't believe that self-isolation works. So, and I wouldn't recommend self-isolation anyways. That's kind of weird. Uh-oh, OBS is disconnecting. Oh my goodness, what the heck just happened? For crying out loud. Okay, let's see. Did it connect? Bear with Bear for 1 second. I need to see if it's. Looks like it's back. I think it's back. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Oh boy. I tell you what, they're coming after me. They're coming after Bear here. No, it looks good. It looks good. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me go back. Sorry about that. Let's see. I missed some of the chats here. I apologize. Let's see. We don't need the vaccine for government distractions. Oh, I got that. For children under the age of 20, more children died of the flu. Well, I'll have to take your opinion on that, P Money. Oh, so did I stop holding my breath? Yes, yes. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. Honey, I'm getting the fireworks to save the planet. There you go. All right, let's see. Where was I? Where was I that I had? Let's see. Where was Beer? Let's see. Oh, self-isolation. Okay. Claims that wearing a mask causes oxygen levels to drop to dangerous levels. Well, once again, going back to our friends over here at the, not that one, the Journal of American Medical Association experimental assessment of carbon dioxide concentration in inhaled air with or without face masks in healthy children. Now, let's talk about healthy children, but there was another one. I think it was this one. I hope this is the right one. Bear with Beer. If not, this is going to be very, very bad. Let's see. They did the same thing in Germany. So they basically did the same thing with the nose covering on children. So it might not be the best thing in the world to do. Trying to find the poll quote here. Let's see, saying that the frequency of the registry use of the spectrum of symptoms are registered to indicate the importance of the topic and a call for representative surveys, randomized controlled trials with various masks, and a renewed risk-benefit assessment for the vulnerable group of children. Adults need to collectively reflect the circumstances under which they would be willing to take a residual risk upon themselves in favor of enabling children to have a higher quality of life without having to wear a mask. There you go. Even they say that we need a little bit more study there. So let's see. With 25,000 children, so that's a pretty big. There you go. Anyways, they did the same thing there in Germany. So again, not that you should or shouldn't. There is a question about it. So claims that masks cause oxygen levels to drop to dangerous levels. We're looking into that. So is it that we can't claim that until we have the definitive proof? Or I would like to just be able to say, hey, that might be a question. Let's take a look at it. Claims that masks cause lung cancer or brain damage. Well, I would say possibly brain damage if you're not getting a whole lot of oxygen to your brain. I would say that. Claims that wearing a mask gives you the Wu flu. Well, if somebody that had the Wu flu was wearing a mask and then took it off, and then gave it to you and you inhaled it and inhaled all the Wu flu particles there, yeah, it would probably give you one, but that was just kind of an isolated case there. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine will kill people who receive it. Well, it doesn't. That's not the intention of the vaccine. It's just a side effect of what happens. And then we'll go back to the VAST here. Working group, May 17th, 2021, and also the, where was it here? Not that one. The other one where they're talking about the people that, there was the children. Oh, and let's see. And they're clarifying. They want to clarify the deaths of 438 people in England there. So that's just deaths. I mean, we're talking about 13,000 bleeding, 856 were fatal. Holy cow! 24 fatalities of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. That sounds pretty damaging there. So, anyways, no, there is questions on that. There's not answers on it, but there's definitely questions on that. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine will be used as a means of population reduction. Well, I don't think, again, that is the purpose of it. But again, we have to go back to look at some of the studies where there is some issues there. So that might be something to take a look at. Videos claiming that the Wu flu vaccine will contain fetal tissue. I don't know. We'll have to take a look. Don't know anything about that. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine causes contraction of the Wu flu. I don't know. Probably not. I would hope not. Claims that the Wu flu vaccine are not effective in preventing the spread of the Wu flu. Well, Bear would just go back to what you said previously. Where was it? Claims that any vaccine is a guaranteed prevention method for the Wu flu. And there was another one as well. I forget where it is, somewhere up there that just totally contradicted that. So again, we've got some contradictory things here on the things that you can't say. So is it both things that you can't say? Is it neither things? This is kind of weird for Bear. All right, let's see. Let's continue on. Where was he? Vaccine causes contraction of other infectious disease, or it makes people more vulnerable to the contraction of other infectious diseases. Well, it depends. I mean, if there's an adverse reaction, you might actually have be vulnerable to it. I mean, again, that's a very, very loaded term there is vulnerable. So, claims that the Wu flu vaccine contained a microchip tracking device. We've kind of went over that. It claims that achieving herd immunity through natural infection is safer than vaccinating the population. Well, we don't know, but maybe we should go and ask, was it Sweden? Sweden, or maybe, what's the other one? Finland? They did the opposite of what people were doing there. This is, hey, maybe we can achieve herd immunity here. So let's use the science, hashtag believe the science, and figure out, hey, was it better that they did that through a natural infection, or was it better that they isolated and then vaccinated? That's a question for people. We're not claiming anything. I think that's a question. Claims that the Wu flu never causes serious symptoms or hospitalizations. Again, it depends on how high the viral load is. I mean, you can get a small viral load and it might not cause serious symptoms. You might get a huge viral load and it does cause a whole bunch of stuff in hospitalization. So, again, it depends. It claims that the death rate from the seasonal flu is higher than the death rate of the Wu flu. Well, we don't know because evidently there was a huge drop in the seasonal flu death rate. So, is that just coincidental? We don't know. We don't know. These are questions. Claims that people are immune to the virus based on their race. I don't think that's true at all. Claims that children cannot or do not contract the Wu flu. It is a very, 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 very small amount. It's small percentiles. And again, it's something that you would want to weigh the risks on. The risks we showed earlier, what was it, 12 to 22 or something like that? There's a higher risk factor in getting a vaccine compared to contracting the virus. So that's something that parents and doctors are going to have to weigh. We're not claiming one way or the other. We're just saying that might be an issue. I'm not claiming that they don't contract it. It's just very, very rare. Claims that there have not been cases or deaths in countries where cases or deaths have been confirmed by local health authorities or the WHO. Well, again, we kind of go back to some of the stuff. There was a kind of a anecdotal report of a guy dying of a motorcycle accident, and they found some Wu flu in his system. So, aha, he died of the Wu flu. No, he died because his brain impacted the pavement. He just happened to have the Wu flu there. So, I think that's kind of an issue there. Educational, documentary, scientific or artistic content. That's what we're doing here, artistic content. We may allow I really appreciate you allowing. We may allow content that violates the misinformation policies noted on this page if that content includes context, that's what we're doing here, that gives equal or greater weight to the countervailing views from local health authorities or medical or scientific consensus. Once again, please go check out your doctor. Check out 2. Why not check out 3? And we'll get to see what their answers are. And we'll get to see what all this science kind of comes out with. We're still kind of learning stuff. So, Bear didn't do any countervailing views. We got a whole bunch of tabs open here. Didn't have any countervailing views. We're just kind of taking what YouTube says on face value there. We may also make exceptions if the purpose of the content is to condemn or dispute misinformation that violates our policies. Well, I don't know about the 5G radiation thing. That was kind of weird. I will condemn that. I think that's probably not true. The context must appear in the images or audio of the video itself. I'm doing that right now. Providing it in the title or description is inefficient. Hope Bear doesn't violate anything there. What happens if your content this is the question, violates this policy? If your content violates this policy, we'll remove the content and send you an email to let you know. So I hope you guys are able to. Peabody says, I want my free Wi-Fi chip. I hope you guys are recording this, so just in case it does go out, you'll be able to hear Bear's opinion on this. If this is your first time violating our community guidelines, Bear has never got a violation of anything. So hopefully he'll get a warning with no penalty to your channel for just asking what the policy is on YouTube here. If it's not, we may issue a strike against your channel. And if you get 3 strikes, you're out of there for 90 days. Your channel, within 90 days, your channel will be terminated. Terminated. You can learn more, blah, 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 blah. We may also terminate your channel or account for repeated violations of the community guidelines. Or TOS, we may also terminate your channel or account after a single case of severe abuse. Well, what is severe abuse? Or when the channel is dedicated to a policy violation. Well, Bear's channel is dedicated to comic books. He's just trying to figure out what can he talk about on YouTube and what's going to get him in some serious trouble. Don't want to have any serious trouble there, but this was not very helpful because a lot of this stuff was contradictory. So it was kind of you can't really say either or. So we're going to find out whether or not Bear is still on. Bear is still on the next time around. Okay. No, it's not. Anyways, there it is. All right, enough of that.